I welcome our distinguished guests and speakers to Middle East Africa Future Technologies Conference 2022. I would like to remind our guests that we will mute audio and video during the session. You can use the chat box below to ask your question. The speaker will answer questions in chronological order, and we will skip repeated questions. We will try to finish 3 or 4 minutes before the next session, but this time it's the next session is my session, so you can have more time if you want. The recording will be shared with you in the comments of the event on LinkedIn. Today, I would like to welcome our distinguished speaker, Rupa Singh, founder and CEO of AI-BEEHIVE, author of the book AI-Ethics with Buddhist Perspective, AI-Ethicist, keynote speaker, writer, thought leader, design thinker, machine learning and deep learning specialist and coach, member of Global AI Ethics Institute. Welcome, Rupa, and you can start if you want.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for inviting me to this conference, and it's really a pleasure to be here. And I'll be talking about AI ethics, and I'll also try to introduce the philosophical aspect into the AI ethics. So, thank you so much, and I'll be sharing my screen. Great. Please suggest if my screen is visible.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, amazing. So, we'll be talking about AI ethics today, which is one of the most important subjects in the field of artificial intelligence, as artificial intelligence is impacting and influencing every aspect of our lives, and also to find out that what are the challenges and how we can mitigate the challenges and harm with these powerful technologies. We talk about AI ethics. So before we go ahead, I will just try to quote Norbert Wiener's. He said in 1960, "We better be quite sure that the purpose we put into machines is the purpose we truly desire." So, so starting with this story, which is a very interesting story of King Midas, and that also tells us about value alignment problem. And so the story goes like this: is the King Midas, and he was a greedy king, and he once wished that everything he touches should turn to gold, and he exactly got what he wished for. So his drink, his uh, the pillars, the chairs, all the objects, when he touched, it got turned into gold, and eventually his food and his relatives and he himself turned into gold, and the king Midas died in misery and starvation. So, what we see here is a value alignment problem. And if we fail to align the value of machines with the value of humans, the results can be catastrophic. So, as we humanize machines, we need to stop the process of mechanizing us, that is, humans. So, understanding about data science, machine learning, and deep
Uh,
learning.
we can see just the first slide. It's not full screen. Ah, yes.
I'm sorry. Um, Now, can you see the slides?
I can see the slide, but it's not full screen. It has the slides on the left side.
Okay, just a second. Now, is it fine?
Uh, uh,
Let me.
we can see like slide by slide, but it's not full screen. You can go ahead if you want, just like that, but just make sure every slide is shown.
Sure, just a second. I'll, I'll share again. Please let me know if
Yeah,
now.
now it's fine. Yeah, we're at the first slide.
Okay. Sorry about the confusion. So, yeah, so we discussed about King Midas problem, and this is a value alignment problem that we find in machines. And if we fail to align the value of machines with the value of humans, the results can be catastrophic. So, as we humanize machines, we stop the process of mechanizing ourselves. So this is the slide of AI, data science, machine learning, and deep learning. And so, where does machine learning and deep learning and AI fits in? And it's often uh, uh, machine learning and AI is most often used synonymously, but it is not the same. So AI is an overarching umbrella, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is again a subset of machine learning. And data science comprises of data cleaning, data processing, and mathematics and statistics such as descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So machine learning has basically supervised machine learning algorithms and unsupervised machine learning algorithms, and it works on the predictive modeling. And deep learning basically it tries to imitate human. It works on neural networks imitating the way human brain works. So there has been an increase in there has been an tremendous buzzword about AI, and which is because of the kind of data that is available in today's scenario. And it is truly a digital world. And as we can see that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Netflix, and all of these applications and services, they are generating so much of data every single minute, and this has accelerated the growth of artificial intelligence. And we are currently in the web of machine learning with personal assistants, Siri, Alexa, Google Home, Amazon Echo, and then recommendation systems such as Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, Twitter, and Flipkart. And all this is, we all are drivers of artificial intelligence. We all are creating um uh, uh, catalyzed we all have catalyzed the growth of artificial intelligence by generating tremendous amount of data in our everyday activities. So the although we have various opportunities of data science and machine learning and AI for different industries, there are myriads of opportunities with data science applications, such as in healthcare we have medical image analysis, drug discovery, bioinformatics, and virtual assistants. And for transport we have self-driving cars, uh, car monitoring systems. And then for finance we have risk analytics, customer segmentation. For banking, The opportunity is with credit risk modeling and fraud detection. For manufacturing industry, it is also used for anomaly detection and maintenance and scheduling. And for e-commerce, like identifying consumers, recommending the products that they're likely going to buy, and analyzing the reviews by using NLP techniques. So, as Mr. Ahmed has already introduced about myself, so I'm not going to take time on this. So, what is machine learning and how machine learning works? So, it basically works on it is not an explicitly programmed systems. We do not need to write programs explicitly in order to recognize if it is a cat. Suppose if you want to recognize, if you want the machine to recognize that this image of a cat is a cat, so I didn't writing a code for this, like the eyes and the ears, to recognize uh, giving computers coding to recognize eyes, ears, nose, and legs. So that would be very difficult, and that would be very complex. So what we do is we give millions of images of cat to the machine learning systems, and the machine learning learns by itself. So next time we present the image of a cat, machine learning system knows that this image is a cat or not. So this is how machine learning works, and giving a lot of images to the lot of images of cat to the machine learning models, uh, and the output, the machine learning model suggests that this image is of a cat. So it does not require explicit programming. And then we have various challenges of artificial intelligence. For example, the examples of recent harm caused by AI, that is misuse of technology, and such as in psychometric voter manipulation, facial recognition surveillance, and so in recent year, there has been many examples of harm due to AI systems in diverse contexts, such as psychometric voter manipulation, facial analysis, where publicly available algorithms perform significantly worse on dark-skinned women. And then we have mass data collection without consent, so leading to privacy challenges. Ethical challenges and need for AI in AI ethics. Sorry. As AI is becoming more pervasive, the technology is reaching with so many into so many facets of our lives that we have no choice but to confront its impacts. The creation and deployment of AI is influencing both our personal and professional lives in myriad ways. And some of its impacts are certainly beneficial, the way we saw in previous slides, but also widespread and lasting harms that can result from technology as well. So the Cambridge Analytica scandal revealed how unlawfully harvested Facebook data from millions of voters in the UK, US, and elsewhere threatened the integrity of democratic processes by enabling malign actors to engage in political micro-targeting through the use of AI driven social media content distribution systems, thereby interfering with individuals' right to free and fair elections. And then we have examples of harms caused by AI, such as by design flaws like bias in cases of recidivism, loan rejection, medical misdiagnosis, and self driving car killing a pedestrian. An increasing attention has been drawn to the capacity of these socio-technical systems that utilize data-driven algorithm to classify, to make decisions, and to control complex systems, including the use of machine learning and large data sets to generate predictions about future behavior in ways that may interfere with human rights. An increasing use of algorithmic decision making, informing custodial and other decisions within the criminal justice and other have the potential to threaten several human rights, including the rights to fair trial, the presumption of innocence, and the right to liberty and security. And then some of the ML researchers have quoted that not necessarily the data is biased is false, but because it treats data as a static artifact divorced from the process that produced it. So, undesirable behavior of machine learning systems is often attributed to that the data is biased. And this process is long and complex and grounded in historical context and driven by human choices. So, understanding the implication of each stage in data generation process can reveal more direct and meaningful ways to prevent or address harmful downstream consequences that overly broad term like biased data can mask. And it is important to acknowledge that not all problems can be blamed on data. The ML pipeline comprises of a series of choices and practices. For example, starting from business understanding, data preparation, model distribution, model evaluation, and model deployment. And each stage involves decision that can lead to undesirable effects. For example, if the business understanding is not correctly done, then the bias can be introduced during this the first stage of the machine learning life cycle. And then how the data is collected, uh, whether the data is collected from the authentic sources, and if there are historical biases or there are representational issues. For example, if the current data is representative of the past data, or the sample data is representative of the population data, and then with model building, model evaluation, or even during the model deployment process. So, different examples of harm in AI systems in diverse contexts, such as facial analysis for where publicly available algorithms perform significantly worse on dark-skinned women. Women employees scored low on performance by hiring algorithms. Microsoft Tay chatbot was taught racist language by its social media users. And then Google photo classification software classified people of African and Asian descent under the heading gorillas. And then we have AI ethics field, which is dominated by power and influence. The field of AI ethics is in urgent need for tangible action to transition or move from high level abstractions and conceptual arguments towards applying ethics in practice and creating accountability mechanisms. Despite this ubiquitous state of algorithms and high stakes and high impact of these decisions on individual and society, the decision about what is essential and important, what should be priority, and how and where these systems should be deployed are still dominated by a small number of stakeholders. And these decisions shape and reflect the power decisions among those who decide and between those who decide and those who are impacted. So, even the field of AI ethics, whose aim is to surface the ethical issues relevant to AI and suggest solutions, is not immune to the forces of politics and power. And then, no AI ethics without ethics. Much like biomedical ethics, AI ethics do not exist in a vacuum. Organizations that fail to grapple with basic ethical questions or who have neglected to establish a culture of ethical and moral behavior will not succeed. A fundamentally unethical organization or the representative of unethical industry simply won't have the capabilities to build and deploy ethical AI. Then we have systemic safety, such as fostering a culture of compliance. In a world of complex theory, there are few linear relationships and few simple answers. The field of AI has much resemblance to the practice of system safely in these industries, which focuses on several areas such as fostering a culture of compliance, powered by affirmative top down leadership, bottom up empowerment of the employees who are closest to the problem, and the actual adherence to company policies. Then training the frontline employees who are designing and building these systems and who have the first hand experience and ability to impact implementation. Then utilizing the insights of empowered regulators, that is, the sophistication and insights of empowered regulators who understand the industry and co evolve with the firms that they regulate. The complex interplay of incentives that are created from law, regulation, financial markets, and for profit businesses. And then appropriate transparency for policing and endorsements. Operationalizing AI ethics principles. Only by operationalizing AI principles for ethical practice, we can help computer scientists, developers, and designers to spot and think through ethical issues, recognize when a complex ethical issues require in-depth expert analysis. And these operationalized AI principles for ethical practice will also help organizations confront unavoidable value trade offs and, consciously set priorities. It needs to be recognized that by their nature, as any principle based framework, AI ethics principles are not complete systems for ethical design making and not suitable for solving complex ethical problems. However, they provide a valuable tool for detecting, conceptualizing, and devising solutions for ethical issues. The dynamics of AI principles. With the aim of operationalizing AI principles and guiding ethical practice, dynamics of AI principles have been created by Kansu Kanga and team, which is an interactive toolbox with features like sort, locate, visualize sets of AI principles demonstrating their chronological, regional, and organizational development. Compare key points of different sets of principles, sh- showing distribution of core principles and systematizing the relation between these principles. And then the challenges of AI, such as accountability, explainability, bias, and privacy. The AI ethics principles is that we can see is like transparency, explainability, fairness, justice, privacy, responsibility, um, trustworthy, autonomy, and non-maleficence. So when it comes to transparency, it is one of the most prevalent principle in the current literature, and this uh, references to transparency comprise efforts to increase explainability, explicability, interpretability, communication, disclosure, and understandability. Since AI is still a black box, and we do not know why AI systems has resulted in certain outcomes. For example, if a patient goes to an AI doctor and the AI doctor suggests that the patient is suffering from a brain tumor or maybe cancer, so patient needs a viable explanation from the AI doctor, and the avoidance or if the explainability is not appropriate, or if the explainability is not there, so it reduces trust in these AI systems. And in order to have trust in AI systems, explainability is of utmost important, and we need to transition from black box to white box. And since limitations of traditional AI is why AI predicted this result, why not something else? When did the AI succeed? When did the AI fail? And when can I trust AI? Or how can I correct an error? So, explainable AI comes to rescue with these black box systems where training data is given to the machine learning processes, and then there is an explainable model, and uh, which explains why an AI system has come up with certain outcomes. And still explainability is a much of an area of research. And then we have justice and fairness, like many expressed in terms of mainly expressed in terms of fairness and of prevention, monitoring, or mitigation of unwanted bias or discrimination. So some sources focus on justice with respect to diversity, inclusion, equality, and others call for a possibility to appeal or challenge decisions. And then accountability comprises of responsibility, liability, and acting with integrity. And the, the non-maleficence systems which provides security, safety, protection, prevention, integrity, and precaution. And these systems suggest specific recommendations, including uh, acting with integrity and clarifying the attribution of responsibility and legal um liability. And then we have privacy concerns, and ethical AI sees privacy both as a value to uphold and as a right to be protected. So, privacy is often presented in relation to data protection and data security. Achieving privacy falls into three categories: uh, technical solutions, differential privacy, and privacy by design. Then we introduce the non-Western aspect of AI ethics, which is a deontological machines. And a major rationale behind developing AI ethics is inconsistent with reliance on human intuition. For example, a prime motivation for developing autonomous vehicle is that human error is a leading cause of accidents, and autonomous vehicles minimize human involvement. And Immanuel Kant introduces the uh, deontological philosophy as the prime motivation for development of autonomous vehicle is that human error is a leading cause of accidents, and autonomous vehicles minimize human involvement. So, the Kant's rule based ethical theories appear to be promising for machine ethics because of computational structure of their judgments. And so let us consider three challenges of ethical importance concerning computers. For example, what methods are used to ensure that computers behave reliably? What methods will deter humans from using computers for evil ends? And how do humans produce computers that will themselves refrain from evil and promote good? So, as the harm can be introduced from any of these sources, resolving each of the problem is challenging. A deontological ethical theory is a good candidate for machine ethics because it supplies particular duties and directives for action that come from rules, and rules are computationally tractable. And as Kant rule based ethical theory suggests, act only in accordance to that maxim where you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. So it suggests that if uh, a person is hungry and he goes to uh, a store and he steals some food, and if he feels that it is right to steal the food because he was hungry, so this law should be applied. If this law can be applied to everyone who is feeling hungry, then that becomes a universal law. So definitely according to uh, Kant's rule, this since everyone who is hungry cannot steal the food, this cannot be used under the universal law. So, since an ordinary human beings are not likely to be the best judges of how one should behave in ethical dilemmas, proposing a non intuition based machine ethics that rest on deontology can avoid some of the pitfalls of relying on moral intuition and yield a more adequate analysis of autonomy. And then we introduce Buddhist perspective of AI ethics. Like intelligence is a central feature of human beings' primary and interpersonal experience, and there is always a key challenge in modern biology to understand how intelligence originated and scaled during evolution. And some of the most important approaches to understand intelligence is the ongoing efforts to build new intelligences in computer science, AI, and bioengineering. However, progress has been stumped by the lack of multidisciplinary consensus on what is central about intelligence, regarding of the details about its material composition or origin. So we show that the Buddhist concept offers unique perspective and facilitate a concealance of biology, cognitive science, and computer science towards understanding intelligence in truly diverse embodiments. And the Bodhisattva voice says, "For the sake of all sentient life, I shall achieve awakening." So, in coming decades, chimeric bioengineering technologies will produce a wide variety of novel beings that look nothing like familiar natural life forms. So, how shall we gauge their moral responsibility and own our moral obligation towards them? The fields of basal cognition, Buddhist philosophy, computer science, and cognitive science are all concerned with fundamental questions around intelligence, like what is unique about certain configurations of matter that enable them to exhibit intelligent behavior, or how do the kinds and degrees of intelligence differ across beings, what processes drive the expansion of intelligence on evolutionary timescales, and what causes changes in the intelligence of a being during its lifespan, and how can we understand intelligence in a way that would enable us to create novel instances as well as improve our own intelligence for life positive outcomes for all. So, Buddhist philosophy introduces care as a driver of intelligence. And so, rather than committing to increasingly more sophisticated goals, one can commit to the meta goal of increasing one's goals. And in Buddhist traditions, this intentional expansion of one's cognitive boundary and thus the area of one's concern finds expression in what is known as Bodhisattva Vo. Thank you. And
Thank you, Rupa, for the great insights about AI. I will share some of the questions, and also if the our guests here would like also to ask more questions, they can write it in the chat box. The first question: when do you expect AI to be able to create cures on its own for cancer? For cancer. And other medical conditions, and compile millions of research papers in a short amount of time.
okay, just when do you expect AI to be
To, to,
able to
to be
create
able to
cures?
create cures on its own for cancer and other medical conditions, and also compile millions of research papers in a short amount of time. Like, for example, it would read like millions of research papers and then come out with a new solution that people didn't notice or didn't think of before. When do you expect this to happen?
Okay, that's a great question, and well, AI is already using applications to detect cancer, and however, for curing cancer is also, there's a lot of research is going on, and it also involves human intervention. And as the AI is becoming more advanced, and definitely we will see more applications uh, in different domains, including medical sectors, and medical sectors also. There has been lot of possibilities of AI. um, which is already working on, such as uh, like working on prosthetic limbs and curing cancer, and sorry, detecting cancer, detecting brain tumors. And obviously, in order to gain trust, we need more explainability and interpretability for these systems. And I hope in coming times, we are going to see more applications of AI in medical uh, applications as well.
Thank you. The next question: what would be the King Midas of AI in your opinion?
What would be the king Midas of AI in your opinion? Okay.
Yes, you mentioned King Midas and at the beginning of this session. So, what would be the King Midas in this domain, in your opinion?
Sure. So the story of King Midas was introduced to give the importance of the value alignment into the AI systems. And so when businesses are creating AI systems, or for any businesses, as we know that AI is oiling the wheels, AI, machine learning, and data science is oiling the wheels of every industry. The value alignment is really important. So what are we trying to achieve with these AI systems? And so the King Midas, if you look at the story of the valuable insights that we can gain from King Midas, is that the King Midas focus was only to, he was greedy and he just wanted a lot of money, and he wanted that everything he should touch, it should turn to gold. And without realizing that even his food and his relatives and he himself can become gold, and he can die in misery and starvation. So if the businesses are not very careful about aligning the proper values, not only in the immediate effect but also the long term effect, like long term effect of these systems, which will be used by by every one of us, and current in the current times and in future times. So what will be the impact of this system in to individual societies, to nations, to environment? And I think we need to take into account all those uh, uh, you know uh, all those things, and aligning the right value systems. So this is what King Midas, the story comes into play.
Thank you. The next question: does models of AI surveillance, like the social points used in China, lead to a 1984-like model?
Okay. Well, I would not be able to comment directly on that, but then AI surveillance is definitely a major concern. And if you look at the okay, gentle reminder of the ebook. Okay. So as AI surveillance is one of the major concern, and as our world is becoming more and more digital, and everything that we are doing is being captured in the AI, in captured by the companies and by the applications. And AI surveillance is definitely a major concern, which can be used to manipulate us, and to monitor us uh, in different ways. And if they know our choices and our preferences, then we can be manipulated. For example, as we talked about Cambridge Analytica scandal, and also Facebook, when if we take an example of Facebook having a lot of our data, and with AI surveillance, we can be manipulated to buy certain products and services which we might not actually want. So, digital nudging can be done, and AI surveillance can also lead to the effects like data colonization. Uh, uh, so yes, and data colonization again is a vast, topic to touch upon.
Thank you. The model would look like if you have seen the movie Elysium, when they used to control everyone using robotics and AI. So I think at a certain point in the future we might reach something like that.
Yeah.
The next question, with the availability of open AI and similar models from Google, would AI in the future create other AIs, and how we make sure it won't be evil?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Um, so, with the availability of OpenAI and Google, would AI in the future create other AIs? Currently, what we are facing is a narrow AI, and this is the first wave of AI. And if AI will start, or the robots will start creating their own robots, this is the third phase, or of AI, and we do not know. There has been a lot of speculations, lot of talks about it, but we still cannot be sure on that. And however, what I feel is that uh, how we treat with AI today, our relationship with AI today, that is with narrow AI, will determine our relationship with future AI. So we need to be sure that we are creating AI which is ethical, responsible, and trustworthy, and which is beneficial for humans. So we need not be worried about the harms of the future AI. And as we know that any tools or technology is not evil, it is our human intentions that is the problem. So uh, yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Thank you. The next question, how will the AI ethics look like if Buddhist philosophy is applied?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Raja. Kanuri. How AI ethics look like if Buddhist philosophy is applied? Buddhist philosophy works on, um, eight noble paths, which is right view, right effort, and right speech, and then compassion, and all of this. And if we are and do not do harm, do not lie, and all these noble paths, and if we are creating AI considering all these Buddhist philosophy, uh, uh, then we will not have harm with these AI systems, and these AI systems will be used, as we say that care will be a driver of intelligence, and the system which is more compassionate towards human beings. For example, if we create prosthetic limbs in the medical AI, which is enabling humans to uh, enhancing their experiences. So if we create AI with incorporating Buddhist philosophy, then we will not create systems. We'll be more careful about systems which is uh, good for all the sentient beings, and as well as our environment.
The next question, should AI have a religion? If yes, which one? If not, what will be the code of conduct for an AI?
Um, should AI have a religion? If yes, which one? And if not, what will be the code of conduct for an AI? Um, well, AI is a religion. For I don't think so. AI can be a religion, and but I'm not sure about this. If there is a mention of AI being a religion, and so it depends upon the people who are involved in creating ethics for AI. So currently the ethics of AI is being dominated by US and West, and it is lacking the non-Western and the traditional philosophical aspect. So uh, and what I feel that in order to create ethical AI, we need diversity, inclusion, and from different, not only from people with different educational backgrounds, but different uh, cultural backgrounds as well, so that we create an AI which is not biased, or uh, which is not one sided, and which is not just benefiting one individual or a group of individuals.
Thank you for this answer. I would also refer Naz, who asked this question, to an interesting book about this, Confessions of an Illuminati, Volume 666, AI and the Age of Cyber Satan. So I guess it would have like many discussions about this.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Rupa, for the great presentation. The greatness of the presentation is not just about it, but also about the intellectual discourses that will be created in the minds of people who will watch this also like later on as well. So, as Raja mentions here, I guess you will have like more discussions offline about it. So,
Sure.
thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in and taking your valuable time for this session. And I had a great time talking about the very important topic, AI ethics. Thank you
Uh,
so much, Ahmed, for inviting me. And thank you, Raja and Naz, for answering amazing questions and difficult questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupa. I will be starting now. Like I will stop the recording, so it's available on the channel, and later on LinkedIn once we upload it, and then I will start recording for the next session, the one about reskilling MEA region youth and women using advanced technologies.
Thank you. Sure. Great.